whenever we sign up for something or attend, if you go into it understanding what you want to get out of it, it's going to go so much better. You're going to be more successful. And if you haven't had a chance to fill out pages 3 and 4 of the action guide yet, don't grab it, do it after the session today. I am Maria Destor, and it is day 1. Illuminate your blind spots. I have 25 years of experience in the trenches, rolling up my sleeves, getting dirty, working in the fields of sports medicine, public health, and nonprofits. What I learned over all that time is that at my core, my mission is to help people live their best life. I created Second Half Consulting to help people work on getting out of autopilot in their careers so that you can unapologetically prioritize your desires, your needs, and your dreams in your work, whatever that means to you. By the end of the day, I hope to help you illuminate your blind spots and see how your best traits might not only be sabotaging you, but how you can turn them back into being strengths versus a hindrance. And on day 2, blind spots illuminated, we're going to invite Yvette Flower to the stage. She is the founder of iFlower Solutions, where she specializes in cultivating resilience and overcoming self-doubt in sales and leadership. With a 20-year experience as a top 5% sales performer in the pharmaceutical and trade show industries, Yvette empowers leaders to enhance their well-being, strengthen their relationships, and boost performance, resulting in a 30% increase in sales. Yvette, what are you going to share with us on day 2?
Thank you, Maria. I actually want to let you know that your sound is still on. So if you want to turn off the music, it's subtle in the background, but it's still on. Well, for tomorrow on day 2, we're going to talk about peak performance success and how to grow your resilient mindset for sustained change. So I'm going to have action-packed workout. I'm sorry, the music was throwing me off. So let me just get back into my my zen here. You're going to have action-packed steps to be able to not only have that peak performance, but make it sustainable. So I'm really excited to share with you more on that.
Awesome. And on day 3, Yvette Ayuso is going to break some barriers. With over 20 years in customer success, Yvette helps clients break through mental barriers and rewire their thinking to achieve peak performance through greater clarity, confidence, and purpose. Her work is rooted in the belief that human connection and mental fitness are essential for achieving success. Yvette, tell us about the uncommon habits you're going to teach us on day 3.
Thank you for that introduction, Maria. I'm actually going to keep you guys in suspense. So you'll have to come on day 3 to find out how to build those uncommon habits to help you succeed in life, as well as how to protect the brain, because that is essential in helping you see life.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll be here. I hope you will too. All right, let's dive into today's lesson, illuminating your blind spots. I want to start with, what is one of your 2025 goals? Share it in the chat. I don't know about you, but I cannot believe that we are at the end of January. What is everyone working on in their life or in their career? How is it going? Anyone sure enough or brave enough to share one of their goals? Let's inspire each other. I have not said one of these goals out loud yet today. Expanding my business offerings and possibly starting a new business venture. That's exciting. Awesome. I have not said this out loud. This would be my first time. I think that my goal is going to be to become a published author. Yeah,
Ooh,
I think it's time.
fun.
I think it's time. Awesome. Okay, you have one in your head. Now, what if I asked you to make it bigger? So for me, that might say, that might be become a published author, but also make the Amazon bestseller list. Yeah, now I'm getting really uncomfortable. My heart is beating just thinking about it. If you were going to go after a regional sales award, that might look like, oh no, I'm going to win the top 5% national sales award. How can you make your goals and dreams bigger? I want to go on a 10-day vacation. Make it 20. All right. I want to focus on a practicum site that focused my telehealth for my MFT program requirements. Sweet. How can you make that bigger? Instead of 8 hours of sleep a night, how about 10? I'm a 9-hour person. That's me. Will your brain even let you think bigger? On some level, we all know that failure is where our biggest growth happens, but still, we might not want to put ourselves in that uncomfortable position. And it's human nature to avoid pain and suffering at all costs. So even imagining a dream that feels safe can be threatening. What would you think if I said your brain is wired for survival, not success? Our brain's number one job is to protect us from threats. And big dreams means stepping into the unknown. And that our brain interprets as danger. Our brains have evolved for hundreds of thousands of years to do two things well: keep us safe and keep us alive. Because our primitive humans, they face threats around every corner. And that spidey sense or those fears came in really handy when you were trying not to get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. And consider the cost to our primitive relatives if they were to be voted off the island. Sticking together, living routine lives, and hoarding resources ensured the survival of our species. But in contemporary society, these threats are really reduced. But our brains, they did not get the memo. Our brains are still running that old operating system that's overestimating danger and flat out making up threats. Any silly fears that anyone has here? Like a fear of public speaking, or the germs from hand dryers, the monsters under the bed, all the things. That's your primitive brain. Is that a blind spot that we hadn't anticipated? The old programming, these old thoughts are no longer serving us. So what is a blind spot? It's an area of perception where the awareness or understanding is impaired or lacking. Okay. So my brain's default programming wants me to stay safe and routine and comfortable. That's going to hold me back when I want to change direction or try something new, or even keep me from dreaming bigger. Now that you can understand these automatic responses, is this real, or is this just my brain trying to keep me small? You can ask yourself this question. Anyone want to share a story that they constantly tell in their brain that might be keeping them small? Anybody? So if nothing comes to mind, here are some common ones. If I ask for help, I might look weak. Oh, I'm just not ready yet. I'm going to do it. I'm just not ready yet. Oh, I don't deserve that. Girl, I missed my chance. Whew. I'm too old, or I'm too young for that. I'll never find something better than what I have now, or the devil I know is better than the devil I don't know. Are these things that you say in your head over and over again? Consider, where do these stories come from? And how might they be keeping you from moving forward, achieving your goals, changing direction, starting a new habit? Sounds like, yeah. How can you get out of this cage that comes from primitive brain? All these narratives feel real because they're deeply rooted in our cultural beliefs, our societal norms, our educations, our family dynamics, and our brain's survival instincts. The first step is recognize them as stories, not facts. Is that a blind spot illuminated? What are the stories that you tell yourself in your head? How do these stories keep you from showing up as authentically you? Who has quieted their voice in a moment where they had something to say because they were afraid of what someone else would think? That's an example of how this primitive brain programming is holding you back. So how can you get out of the cage? I'm going to share a tool at the end, but being aware is step one. But also consider, what's the cost to you of not getting out of the cage, of not starting to be aware of these stories and challenge them? Yvette and I have all opened up slots in our calendars for connection calls to help you work through these blind spots. Someone will drop it in the link. It's also in the emails that will be coming to you after the event today, where you can get on a call and we can talk about your specific situation and how your blind spots might be keeping you from moving forward. Now, we talked about the primitive brain and things that we inherited, but what about the impacts of personality and experience? Are there more blind spots here? As young children, we rely on help from adults and others to meet our basic needs. And there are so many threats in our world, real and imagined, as we just spoke about, out there to feeling that core love and safety. And this goes way beyond just having two parents or being loved and being in a safe home. I mean, seriously, consider the emotional toll of gym class or the first rejection that you faced on the playground. With each lesson in our lives, we adapt and we learn how to protect ourselves. We learn how to change our behaviors to get what we want. These become our strongest personality traits, and they develop over time. Part nature, and part nurture, part personality, part experience. But what happens when these personality traits that serve us so well get so strong that they start to sabotage us? Could this be another blind spot? Strong personality traits. We forget how to say no, because if I say yes to everyone, then they're going to like me. That's the pleaser. You learn to look left and look right before you cross the street, but at some point that hypervigilance can turn into analysis paralysis. I have to explore every possible thing before I can move forward. You learn, I think we all learn this lesson, we get attention and praise when we do well, when we achieve. So we learn to push and push and push and do more and more and more and just keep pushing that finish line back further and further, having unrealistic expectations that lead to burnout. Aha, the hyperachiever. I could see a couple of you guys giggling. Yeah, that's pretty common. Oh, here's another one that I know a lot of you are going to identify with, that squirrel moments in our career or in our business where we're always, ooh, I could start a podcast. Ooh, I could get this cert. Ooh, if I did this, if I did that, if I did this. And suddenly you're just restless. You're not focused on anything, and it really slows you down. It's always you looking for the next best thing instead of just doing what's in front of you. And when we keep pushing and pushing, when these different saboteurs keep pushing and we keep pushing until we start to get burned out and feel terrible. And that's when we ultimately become a victim. And that's a really hard place to be. Is this resonating with everyone? Are you able to see yourself in some of these personality traits gone awry? And again, I just want to remind you, all of our speakers in this 3-day event have spots open on their calendar to talk to you about how your specific flavor of self-sabotage is holding you back. And of course, give you some tips on how to move forward. But there is a researcher named Shirzad Shamim who compiled data from 500,000 people. And these were a wide variety of people from multiple countries, everything from CEO to secretary, athletes, students. You get the picture. A really healthy sample size. And he looked at sabotaging behaviors and came up with these 10. I'm not going to read them. Don't worry about writing them down. They are in your action guide. And if you have already taken the saboteur quiz, or you will take the saboteur quiz, they will all be there for you to see and process more later. There are actually 9 accomplished saboteurs and the judge. So the judge, that's the person in your brain, sometimes we name this judge, who starts the party by judging self. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. That was so stupid. Judging others. I don't know why he's here. Or judging situation. She's so much further ahead in business or career than I am. The judge starts the party and invites the other accomplice saboteurs to show up. Do you see yourself in any of these? What do you think your top saboteur might be? I am going to start a poll because I'm really interested to see what saboteurs are showing up in this room today. So go ahead, take a look at the list, vote on the poll. What do you think is your top saboteur? All right, the votes are coming in. Yeah, I knew we'd have some hyperachievers in this room. We have some pleasers, avoiders, restless. Oh, avoider. Yeah, avoider. All right. I'll give it a few more seconds. Hyperachiever. We got people voting in the chat and in the poll. These saboteurs are really sneaky. All right. This is what we got. Hyperachievers, restless, pleasers, and avoiders in the room. And I will go into a little bit of more detail about the different ones. Okay. What I want you to remember, our saboteurs grew out of our greatest strengths. Remember, it was those lessons we learned as children as we grew and learned from our parents, from our experiences, from our genetics. I mean, we all come out of the womb a certain way. I mean, look, I have 3 children and they are all so different. It is crazy. Personalities, we all have our personalities, but life does impact what develops into what. When I did this for the first time, I remember thinking, I need my hyperachiever. It's made me who I am today. Okay, yeah, it makes me feel a little miserable sometimes, but doesn't I just go with the territory? But there's a better way. And over the next couple of days, that's what we're going to be teaching you. How to rein in these out of control personality traits that have turned into self-sabotage and how to build the resilience to capitalize on your best traits, but not let them sabotage you. I want to quickly talk about the personalities behind each of these traits. The controller, the empowered leader, the avoider, the artful dodger. We had a lot of avoiders in the room. The victim. Victims are often very in touch with their emotions. We find a lot of people who have the victim saboteur in social work, caregivers, healthcare, because they have this superpower to have empathy with people and just really understand how to help. The pleaser is the super accommodator. The restless is the joyful explorer. You get the picture. Here's a few more. The hypervigilant is the mindful guardian. We got to keep everyone safe. The hyperachiever, got those in the room. Hyper rational, having that black and white, insightful analyst personality is fantastic. Our scientists, our mathematicians. We have the sticklers who have the eye for excellence. Things must be this way. And of course, the judge is the fairness seeker. But remember, the judge is the guy who starts, or woman, who starts the party and invites all the other saboteurs. So what does the avoider look like? This one's pretty obvious. Some of them are less obvious than others, but putting off those important tasks until the last minute. I'll just check my email, my phone. Instead of doing those sales or networking calls, often the avoider, especially if you have something uncomfortable that you really don't like to do, that avoider is very artful in keeping us distracted. But the thing is, the avoider is a big contributor to the anxiety and stress, thus burnout. Are you living in that constant state of fight or flight because your avoider has pushed all these deadlines to the moment where it's like you're just up here because you're just, everything's due now. And the pleaser. Are you the one who everyone comes to because you're super confident and always can get things done, to ask for favors, advice, to do the project, to help you with something, and you never say no? No is a complete sentence. One of my clients actually had a really big breakthrough when she realized that saying yes to everyone was her pleaser saboteur, putting everything and everyone in front of her. And that was the key that was causing her the stagnation in her business, because she could never focus on the thing that she wanted to focus on to move the ball forward. Ha! Blind spot illuminated. The controller. I think we all want more time. So the easiest way to free up time, you're going to delegate. I'm going to delegate. I swear I am. I'm interviewing people, or you're going to delegate to someone on your team. But then they don't do it the way you want them to do it. Oh, they're taking so long, and you just yank it back and do it yourself. Yeah, controller. This is a big one among all of my clients, especially the entrepreneurs, because our businesses are our babies and it's really hard to delegate. But the thing is, every moment that you're doing things that are outside of your zone of genius is costing you money. So when you can figure out how to reel back in this controller saboteur and delegate some things, you can begin to make real money and scale. Ha! Blind spot. How about the hyperachiever? Since there are many of those in the room. Ha! Constantly striving for more, setting unrealistic targets, pushing yourself more and more and more. You can never be happy. You landed that big client, you landed that promotion, but you're already looking ahead to the next thing. For instance, in a job search, that might look like, I'm going to get out 100 applications this week. Or in sales, that might look like, I'm going to set this aggressive sales target. But what happens is you spend so much time just doing those hundreds of applications or doing all the calls. And sometimes it accomplishes things, but most of the time it doesn't. And it just burns you out. Or if you do make it, you just set the goal higher the next time. Yeah, I can see from your faces here that that's okay. You're seeing yourself here. That's my goal. I just want to touch on the judge. The judge is the universal saboteur that we all have. It's that voice in your head. I've heard someone refer to it as the little itty bitty shitty committee on your shoulder. The judge beats you up incessantly over mistakes you made or shortcomings. It's the thing that creates all of the embarrassment, the anxiety, the shame, the anger. It warns you obsessively about future risks, keeps you up in the middle of the night with that brain spinning. Yeah, I've been there. The judge is the greatest internal enemy. Judge of self, judge of others, and judge of situation. You have the choice to be aware when you're being hijacked and stop it and pause. To understand why we have these behaviors, let's look at these root causes that we talked about today. We talked about illuminating your hidden blind spots that we inherit from our prehistoric ancestors, that primitive brain programming to keep us safe and alive. And then we talked about our personalities and how it grows and evolves into self-sabotage, because our personality traits can serve us really well, but they can also sabotage us. Now, everyone, revisit that goal that you set for yourself today or you have for the year, either your goal or why you came to Empower or what you're trying to do. How has primitive brain or self-sabotage held you back from reaching this goal? That's your homework. Complete page 6 in the action guide. The link is in the chat. It's all the way up at the top, and I'm sure my co-presenters will get that in the chat again right now. It is also going to be in the email that you get after this with the session recording if you want to refer back to anything. I can see that I have time for a bonus. So we talked about illuminating these blind spots. You can see them now. You're going to start to see them all the time now that you're aware of them. And if you want to know your specific flavor of self-sabotage, take the saboteur quiz, the saboteur assessment. The links are in the emails. Someone will also put that in the chat. You'll get a report with all the 10 saboteurs, and it will tell you what your top 3 saboteurs are. Now, when you find yourself in that moment where your primitive brain or the self-sabotage is starting the spiral, you've been there. The thoughts in your mind are going nuts. You can probably feel it in your body, in the pit of your stomach. You might be sweating. You might not feel well. You might feel exhausted. I ask you to pause, intercept these thoughts, and decide that you want to change direction. And in that moment, when you're back in the driver's seat, shift your thoughts from whatever your brain is throwing at you to what you tell your brain to focus on. And I invite you guys to participate right now as you're comfortable, asking your brain to focus on one sense. That might be feeling each one of your toes in your shoe right now or on your carpet. Just find each one of your toes and just focus on it. And if any of those intrusive thoughts try to poke through, toes, we're focusing on toes. Another example you can do is to focus on sound. Right now, pick one sound in your environment and hear only that. And one of my other favorite pauses is the one that we do. I use this one when I'm especially feeling emotional. It's clenching some muscles, whatever muscles you can clench. And as you're clenching them, feel the stress, like actually feel. Remember, block those thoughts. We're focusing only on what we can feel. And especially focus on the release. All those feelings. Each time that you make the decision to shift away from thoughts that aren't serving you, the anxiety, the shame, the imposter syndrome, or any other flavor of uncertainty that your brain is trying to send your way, and you pause, then tell your brain what you're going to focus on. That's you forming new neural pathways. That's you forming pathways to opening the door to new habits, new directions, new dreams, whatever it is that you are working on. And this little life hack, it's really an exercise that's been researched over and over by many researchers in psychology and neurobiology and neuroscience. And in the framework of this summit, we refer to it as a PQ rep. Pause, PQ rep, whatever you want to call it. Try it out this evening. Next time you feel like you might be spiraling or a little hijacked, try it out. Because consider, what could your life look like? What could your 2025 look like if you've mastered the art of the pause? My colleagues are going to continue to explore this and more tools to help you build your resilience and your foundation so that you can do more with less pain that's caused from primitive brain and self-sabotage.